Welcome to the Make More Money as a Dietitian podcast, where we talk about all things money, mindset, and marketing so your nutrition business can thrive and you can make a bigger impact in the marketplace. I am your host, Christine Diane, registered dietitian and money mindset expert. Let's get started with today's episode. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Make More Money as a Dietitian. Today I have another amazing interview for you today as a bonus episode in honor of Black History Month. Today I'm going to be interviewing two people actually who are leaders over at the Metropolitan State University of Denver, and they are both spearheading a grant that is helping to bring in more diversity and inclusion in our profession. And I'm going to let them tell you all about the grant, how it works, why it's important, and all of the things. But let me just give you a little bit of a prelude to who these two amazing individuals are. So today I'm going to be interviewing Jessica Torro and Rachel Sinley. Jessica has been with the department over at the Metropolitan State University of Denver, and she has been with them for a bit of a while, actually. She's been with them since 2016, and she's recently taking on the new role of grant program manager. Her interests include health disparities, oh gosh, my tongue is tied today. So her interests include health disparities, diversity, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and childhood and adolescent obesity. She has research expertise in childhood obesity and works closely with the Healthy Lifestyle Clinic and the MEND program over at Denver Health Hospital. And then Rachel Sinley is a department chair and associate professor in the Department of Nutrition at MSU Denver. She is also doing all of the things, you guys. I think I'm going to stop right here, y'all, and let them talk about themselves and give you a better insight into why this grant program is so important to our profession. But just so you know, Rachel has been a dietitian for 10 years. Jessica has been around for quite some time herself. And in my opinion, they are leaders in our industry, in our profession, who are really trying to make it better than it has been over the past 100+ years. So let's go ahead and take a listen to Jessica Torro and Rachel Sinley and learn a little bit about how they're making a contribution to our profession. Let's go. Well, welcome back, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of Make More Money as a Dietitian. First and foremost, y'all, are any of you all listening in my private Facebook group? I think I went live a few weeks ago, and I had my podcast mic up to my mouth. And as I went live in the Facebook group, I said, welcome back to another episode of the Make More Money as Dietitian. And I said, oh no, this is not that. This is the Facebook group, but I am in the right place at the right time today, y'all. And I have some guests here that I think you are going to love. I have Miss Jessica Torro and Rachel Sinley. I can't get names right today. They are with me today, and we're going to talk about the hot topic of the year, diversity and inclusion. If you have not been in any discussions on diversity and inclusion this year, I'm trying to figure out where you've been. Where have you been? Because this is what we're talking about. We're trying to create change in our profession because this profession of ours needs change, you guys. It needs change just as much as the change that is needed in our country and all over the world when it comes to diversity and inclusion. So Jessica and Rachel are going to talk to us today about what they're doing at the Metropolitan State University of Denver to really spearhead diversity and inclusion in their own unique way. So welcome, you guys. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. So, can you guys go ahead and just introduce yourselves and let everyone know what you do and why you do it? And let's go ahead and start with you, Jessica.
My name is Jessica Torro, and I am the POHA Grant Program Manager, and POHA stands for Post-Baccalaureate Opportunities for Hispanic Americans. We recently received a grant last year in September of 2019 of about $3 million, and we are trying to use this money to help increase diversity in our field, not just for first-generation students, but for disabled students, for veterans, and for people who just have barriers when they're trying to access our field.
Yes, yes. And Rachel.
So I'm Rachel Sinley, and I am the department chair and associate professor in the Department of Nutrition at MSU Denver. And I've been at MSU Denver for about 5 years, just within the past about 6 months in the role of department chair. And I'm co-PI on the grant that Jessica mentioned, and helped to write the grant as it stands, and really just building services for students who really how it was built, who maybe aren't aware of opportunities within the dietetics profession, related to a variety of barriers. We have a new grad program, and what we are finding is that our undergrad program is incredibly diverse. Our undergrad program in nutrition and dietetics is very diverse. We're a Hispanic serving institution. We have a lot of students of color in our undergrad program. And what we find is that because of so many barriers, those students are not going into dietetic internships. Those students are not going into our grad program. And so we built this grant and are building programs to help break down some of the barriers that students have to, move from our undergrad program into dietetic internships or into our grad programs, or, just really understanding what they'd like to do in the profession as a whole.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Rachel, I have a question for you. Like, why do you sense that the diverse students that are in the undergrad program are not transitioning into the internships? Is it solely financial, or are you finding that there are other obstacles as well?
It's a really good question. And it's something that even before we had this grant, there has been a lot of interest in this in our university and in our department. Really wanted to know what some of these barriers are. And we've actually done a bit of research on this over the past several years and have asked students, what keeps you from pursuing those credentials? And finances is certainly one of them. And I don't think that would surprise any of us. It costs a lot of money to become a dietitian. And sometimes that payoff's not there. Right. Students also say, I don't see myself represented in the field.
That's a big one.
Students will say, when you ask, why not pursue this next step? They will say, I don't have a mentor who looks like me that will guide me through this process. I'm not seeing myself represented on review panels within dietetic internship committees. They don't even, many students have indicated that they don't think there's a chance that they can get into a dietetic internship. So the lack of diversity keeps the field looking very homogeneous. It keeps it not diverse because it's not diverse.
Yeah. So that brings to light a memory for me of my own personal experience going from undergrad into the internship. I had to apply twice. Okay. The first time I didn't get accepted. So I said, well, let me sit out a few years and I'm going to go to graduate school to strengthen my application. Now, I didn't know why I didn't get accepted, of course. I mean, the match process doesn't tell you why. It's just a stupid match process. And, everyone who listens, hopefully you guys know I don't mince my words. So I just say stupid for what it is. So, I went to graduate school, but I don't have a graduate degree. I finished the entire program. And this this is what happened. I get to the end and we had to do like a case study, review, and presentation, like a whole shebang in lieu of doing a thesis type thing. So I was excited. I'm like, I don't want to do a thesis anyway. This is awesome. So I get up there and I do the presentation, nervous for sure, because during this graduate program, I had also I found out I was pregnant at the very beginning. And so by the time I got to the part where I was graduating, I had a very small toddler. Okay. So I was sleep deprived. I was just everything, but I was excited because I was going to be done. So I thought, and I feel like due to the lack of representation, that is the reason why I did not get my degree, because all they could tell me was, you almost made it, Christine. That's all. There was no like critiquing, constructive criticism to help motivate me to come back and do it again. All they said was, you almost made it. And I'm like, okay, well, guess who's done? Guess who's done? I'm not coming back. And I never went back. And I feel like when you just said, people are saying that there is no representation, there's no one who looks like me, I understand on a personal level how that can really make you just feel defeated before you even start. Like, who's going to be there for me when I feel like I'm sinking? Who is going to help lift me up, guide me along the way? Who's going to understand my struggles from a cultural perspective? You know, all of these things are so very important. So I could see how that could deter students from enrolling from the start. And it's really disheartening because they probably didn't think that when they entered into college, you know? And so they've spent all of this time, this energy and money to get to the end thinking, and then they have to put a cap on it because of finances, because of underrepresentation and anything else that may be getting in their way. So yes, I get that part. And Jessica, what have you found? Have you been able to speak to students personally and ask them questions in regards to this?
Well, we've done a couple focus groups, and I've talked to my students because I am an adjunct faculty member, and they've told me they just are too scared to apply. They feel that they won't get in because of all of these barriers that are in their way. Because I had one specific student say that they have 2 kids. How are they going to be able to do the internship with 2 kids? And what if they still have to work? How do they balance work and kids and doing the internship? What if they go to the internship and someone doesn't look like them? And how do they connect with their preceptor? So I've had all these students like tell me a lot of these things. And I think the biggest one, as Rachel mentioned before, is finances. My personal story, like I wouldn't have gotten through my internship if it wasn't for my husband. He was able to help me through the process, but yet I still worked and I went to school at the same time, and we all made it through it. But I can honestly say that I thought I was the only Black dietitian when I was done, because I never saw another Black dietitian until, I started joining all these diversity groups, and diversity dietetics was there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's many more others out there. And it was awesome to see that. But in my internship, I was the only Black person there. And that was, it was hard to see. You kind of get used to it after a while, but you look around and you're just like, oh, it's just me. Okay. And you kind of like move on. And I think that needs to change in our field, in the undergrad level, the graduate level, and in our internship, because we are not representing the field, the communities that we're serving. Because when you put all these new dietitians out into these fields, they don't know how to serve the Hispanic community. They don't know how to serve the Black community, or the Native American community, because we don't know their cultures. And that also starts with their undergrad program, because we're not teaching the right way to educate our students and how to help these patients. You know, in my undergraduate degree, it's like, it's My Plate, and My Plate is a great tool. However, it's not significant, and it's not a tool that all of our patients use nowadays.
Right.
Right. So
I mean, especially when we are really leaning a lot towards intuitive eating. My Plate really just is not even relevant in that area. So
it doesn't. I had a patient years ago said, like, I don't eat this way. I can't afford these foods. Like, how do you expect me to eat this way? And, you really had to take a step back. And I'm like, well, tell me about your culture. So I want to learn about you and your culture. And then this is how we're going to go from here. Forget about what everyone else says. We have to figure out how you eat, what you can afford, and how we can give you a better nutritional lifestyle.
Yes. And, this isn't in the area of diversity and inclusion, but it is in the area of really making some significant changes to the curriculum for dietitians, whether it be in the undergrad or in the internship. But dietitians really need to learn more about coaching than counseling. There is a significant difference. And, just even using that term counseling, really, it's a thin line between like the mental health field. And I personally don't think we should be using that term, but that's my personal opinion. It's not a professional opinion. But I really believe that if more dietitians were trained on coaching skills, then we could meet people where they are, no matter what culture they're coming from. So dietitians may not even need to be well versed in every culture if they knew how to meet people where they are and rewire their own thinking around being experts. Because when you go into a relationship with the client and you are working with them and you believe in the back of your mind that you're the expert, then you as the dietitian are coming in with block filters right away. Like your listening skills are a little tainted. I mean, just so much is out of sorts. So even I just say, tear it all down and build it right back up. I just feel like it all needs to, not all of it, but a lot of that curriculum needs to change, and coaching skills would be so super helpful. What would be amazing if the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics is listening to this, anyone from the Academy, if the Academy or the CDR could collaborate with well coaches, like really collaborate. I know that when you take that program, you get continuing education credits as an RD, but I think that they need to collaborate before the RD becomes an RD and have some sort of working relationship, whether it's within dietetics undergraduate programs or in internships, to teach dietitians how to coach. They'll be a lot more marketable that way. And that would help. And that would also help with the cultural barrier, because dietitians, I mean, it would be even difficult for us Black dietitians to learn about all the different cultures out there. There's some Black cultures, some African cultures that I'm learning about, and so that's my spiel on that. I would also love to hear from you guys, like what you guys are doing with your grants and other things. How are you helping your communities out there to kind of get the people into the internships, whether it be with finances and other ways? I'm sure you're doing other things aside from finances too.
One of the things that I think we've recently established that is like at a programmatic level within our department is a 3+2 program. And really establishing a lot of pathways with community colleges to, and it gets at the financial barrier piece, especially with the looming 2024 changes of requiring a master's degree.
Oh my God. Is that the most horrible thing?
Just like, it's this cloud, I think, over the profession, and especially when you consider the already financial barriers. I mean, the already existing financial barriers, you throw an additional degree requirement on top of it. And I think it's kind of like kicking some of our students, while they're already down.
Yeah.
And so we've established a 3+2 program that combines an undergrad and a grad program in 3+2. So 3 years of undergrad, 2 years of grad program. So completing both programs in 5 years. And so really in your third year of your undergrad degree, you can start taking grad classes. So we have classes that are cross-listed. You can take both at the same time and basically save a year of tuition by combining the program. We've also been establishing partnerships with community colleges. So it ends up being like 2 years at a community college, 1 year with us in the undergrad, and then you can move into your grad program. So the first 2 years at a community college end up being much more affordable. And so just really, not making secrets that if that works best for you, if that's more financially feasible, start there, move in our program, and we'll help make that as streamlined as possible for you to make it more affordable. So we've really just established some pipelines for students who maybe want to live at home and go to a community college closer to home before working, with our program to get them into the master's degree to ultimately get those credentials. So that's been something we've been working on over the past year that I think we're really excited about, is just creating pipelines for students to get into our program if that's ultimately what they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really unfortunate that they're requiring this master's degree. I know a lot of dietitians have been voicing their opinions against this whole thing. It's just like, why make the financial investment if I'm not going to get a return on the investment when I start working? But I love that you guys are at least trying to do something to help out with that. I think that's really, really awesome. It would, man, if they were going back in time and I had to have one, I would be up a creek. Okay. So I'm glad that that's not happening. But the unfortunate thing for me is that I still have to pay all of those student loans and I don't have a degree. So that is the crazy pants part about that. Jessica, anything else that you want to contribute to what your program is doing to help the students?
Yeah, we actually have a lot of things going on right now, a lot of moving pieces, but to add on to what Rachel was saying with the 3+2 program, we work very closely with another grant that is in our department, and it provides up to $26,000 per year for students to complete their undergrad. And then once they're done with their undergrad program, they can apply for the POHA grant to receive up to $5,000 per 10,000, Rachel, or 5,000? $5,000 per year in order to complete their graduate program. And then they can apply to be a research assistant to get additional funds as well too. So we have money to give. We want to get our students out there and apply for these programs and not to be scared. And we also help our students who are applying for internships. We have I think we had like an internship workshop where we're able to talk to our students and help them figure out what is the best path for them, look at their personal statements, ask any questions about applications. We're starting a mentorship program that will kick off in January, and we're getting a lot of dietitians who are willing to volunteer their time, when we are so grateful for, to help mentor these students as well too. And we have two pathways. So we have a traditional pathway, and then we have an experiential pathway where they're able to do projects for a lot of these dietitians. And it's awesome because you get that real world work that you can put on your resume, and you get these dietitians who have been through the process to kind of guide you along the way, and to help you with your DICAS application, a personal statement, or maybe a graduate application. We have a tutoring program for our undergraduate degree. We do a lot of cultural competency and diverse workshops, not only for our faculty and staff, but for our students as well too.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the last thing that we're doing is just partnering with community colleges. There are a lot of community colleges here in Colorado that are hours away, and we're trying to figure out a great a pipeline, a seamless pipeline where they're able to still come to MSU Denver and achieve a nutrition dietetics degree. Or even, and we're trying to reach out to nursing students who may not feel like nursing is for them after they do their first round of clinicals, or they don't get into nursing because just like dietetics, nursing has like, you know, a small amount of people that they can apply, they can enter every single semester, every single year. So we want to help those nursing students that maybe don't finish or don't feel like this is for them, that nutrition might be for them as well too. So that is something that we're trying to do as well. So we have a lot of things moving, but we are really just trying to help the students as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. You guys have a lot. That is a lot. You have like a huge buffet, smorgasbord. Like, what is happening? Jeez, I feel like underserved. I feel I wish I had waited. I was like, I should have waited to become a dietitian. Good golly. I'm kidding. So look, I want to know, like, if anyone is out there interested, like how can they get in touch with you guys in regards to what you have to offer? And before you even answer that though, is your program 100% like in person, or is it distance learning? Now we know everything is pretty much distance learning at the time of this interview during the pandemic, but under normal circumstances, how is it set up?
Under normal circumstances, it's not 100% distance, and it's not 100% in person. It's a combination.
Oh, it's a combination. Okay.
It's a combination. And so, you know, obviously the pandemic has created interesting circumstances for us all. So right now we are 100% online, and I think it's been an interesting shift for us. I think it's gone actually much better than we ever could have anticipated.
Right.
You know, in terms of our DPD program is approved to be in person with some online components. And so I think that will be an interesting thing that we look at in the coming years is, you know, do we want to have online options? Because this has been it's really been a pretty good move for us.
Yeah.
And that will be something that we consider in the future, I think. Just we're doing needs assessments. We're constantly assessing our students to see how has this moved to online, given the current situation, how has that worked for you? And should that be something that we look at? But in our current situation, our master's program is under normal circumstances is 50-50. It is half online and half in person.
Okay.
So that's kind of the situation with that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. I like that. And so how can people get in touch with you in regards to this program? And just give us all of the info. Like, I have a sense people are really going to be interested in this.
I would say, I'm sure Jessica would say, just here's my email. Like, everyone just email me, which you could do. I would say, you know, nutrition@msudenver.edu. You know, that is the best starting point for us. Our general email inbox is one of the best ways to get a hold of us. And I think one of the things that we do really well, our biggest priority is students. Like, and I think we all truly feel that way. So if Jessica or I got emails from 50 people today, which we would be ecstatic about, we would probably answer every single one of those emails today because that's our biggest priority. So I don't think either one of us would have a problem giving out our work emails either. Mine's rsinley@msudenver.edu, so you can email me.
Yeah.
Mine is jtorro@msudenver.edu.
Y'all, look, y'all just saying it so quick. People can't even write it down if they want to. So we're going to make sure that we have all of this in the show notes, because the people are probably like scrambling for a pen, or maybe scrambling to tap on their notes app real quick, and blah, 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 you guys just did. So I love it though. I love how passionate you are about your work. I love what you're doing for the profession to include more diversity, to have some more diversity included, I should say, in the profession, starting at the ground level, starting at the foundation, starting within the educational process. It's so super important. Like you mentioned, there, I don't know if we talked about this yet, but we probably need to talk about this before we go. There needs to be um, more diversity and inclusion, because those are the communities that need it the most. Can we talk about that? Because I feel like we said a whole lot of good things before I even hit record. So I would love, before we end, Jessica, I would love for you to share why you feel that is so important when it comes to communities of color and diversity and inclusion. Why is it important to have that in our communities?
I witnessed it firsthand when, I was younger, and I remember I went to go see a dietitian, and they told, I'm from a Haitian background, which is an island on the Caribbean, but she told me, like, you got to stop eating rice and don't eat plantains. And like, that's a staple in our house. And we had rice for every single meal. That was like, no doubt about it.
Mhm.
And then I also witnessed it like in my profession and career, as in, you see other dietitians who tell our Hispanic patients, and I worked for Denver Health, and it was a predominantly Hispanic population, and refugee population, but we're telling them, like, no, you can't eat your cultural foods. You need to eat like this. You need to switch your white rice for brown rice. You need to switch your tortillas or corn tortillas to wheat tortillas. I mean, wheat tortillas have more sodium in them, so why would you tell them to switch? So it's like things like that we need more diversity. So when our community members go see a dietitian for prevention, they have someone that looks like them, or even if they don't, they have someone who understands their culture. And I think that's the biggest part, because when you have someone and you're treating a patient and they don't understand your culture and your needs, and your background and even socioeconomic status, that becomes difficult. Because you're telling patients, oh, you need to buy these foods and they need to be organic, they need to be fresh. And family's like, I can't afford that. I have 3 or 4 kids. We have to take a bus. How am I going to take all this food home? I can't do that. So we have to be cognizant of these issues and have diversity trainings, have diversity workshop, have diversity built in to our curriculum. So we educate not only our diverse students, like you mentioned before, you can't know every single culture. But if we are able to educate all of our students from the ground up, then they'll be able to help coach our patients and meet them where they're ready to begin. Because I always feel like we jump like 10 yards ahead and we're like, okay, you need to do this. And we only have 15 minutes. Sorry, I got to go. But here's the meal plan. And then like, that's it. I think we need to be better at that, and help our patients, because we're all about preventative care. Right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what they teach us, is this is preventative care and this is what we need to do to help our patients. But we're not helping our patients if we have no diversity training, no diversity culture education, and no diverse dietitians.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. When you were speaking, what came to mind was some of the cooking classes that were being taught in community nutrition. And wow, like just not meeting the people where they are is a huge problem. Not really addressing cultural foods, the foods that you're actually going into communities. Like if you're going in a predominantly Hispanic community and you go in there talking about chia seed pudding and making a flax egg to make it vegan, they're going to look at you like you're crazy.
Yes.
Okay, people. So it's really so important. Um, diversity is important, y'all. If you don't see this as a white dietitian, I invite you to really just open your mind a little bit. If you don't see that this is a problem, I really want to invite you to just try to have a bit of an open mind with this topic, because I recently saw a comment in regards to diversity and inclusion and really changing our profession around, where a white dietitian said she didn't think that that was the problem, that she didn't think that our curriculum was a problem. She felt like the problem was something different that she explained. And it took a lot for me to not say anything, but it really is a problem. It may not be the only problem, because it definitely isn't the only problem, but it's significant enough for us to really need to address it at this time. And Rachel, what's your take? I know before we hit record, you said that we want to make sure also that the light isn't 100% shown on the marginalized parts, right, of diversity, right? We want to also let others know that we're here for them too.
Right. And just based on that comment that you just said about, a white dietitian saying that this isn't the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we're not having all of these conversations with all involved parties,
Mm-hmm.
not just the students who are ultimately trying to reach to get into the profession, not just our students of color, but also our white nutrition students, if we're not having inclusive conversations, and by inclusive, I mean across all of our entire student body, then we're doing
Absolutely.
a disservice, because then it will continue being a segregated profession. Then we will continue to have white dietitians who say, I don't see why this is a problem. Well, if they're not being involved in the conversations, why would they see that it's a problem?
Right. Right.
So we're encouraging these conversations across our entire student body, across our entire faculty and staff body, just so that there's no secrets about the work that's being done.
Yes.
And entire transparency about why this is important.
Yes, I love that. I love that we need to include everyone in these conversations. And yes. Oh my God. Yes. Okay. So I just had a light bulb moment. I feel like Oprah. So I just had a light bulb moment. So when we're not including our white dietitians, our white colleagues in these conversations, then they will continue to say, I don't see what the problem is.
Because otherwise we're just preaching to the choir. Yeah, otherwise we're just telling people who already know it's a problem.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And we're not going to get anywhere.
Not getting anywhere. So y'all, most of you all who listen to me are the white dietitians, by the way. I do have my people of color who listen to me too, of course, but because the profession is predominantly white, I can confidently say that most of you who listen to me are white dietitians. And I just want you to know that these conversations are open to you as well. And I really want you to know that it's so important for you to be willing to be involved in these conversations, so that you can not only help affect change, but you could actually learn and grow yourself. Because after hosting the diversity book club for dietitians for 6 months, I can tell you that there was a lot of learning to be done there. And the learning doesn't just stop, okay, when the book club ends, or the learning doesn't stop when we stop posting on Instagram, right? The learning will continue for generations to come, probably, to be very honest. But for now, I believe it's super important that we all have these conversations, be open to what others are saying just because it may not affect you personally. Please don't gaslight people and diminish what they're saying and all of that kind of thing. It is, a person's lived experience is valid no matter if you understand it or not. And that is the bottom line. And so that's why I love what you, Jessica, and Rachel are doing at the Metropolitan State University of Denver. And let's just hope and pray that what you're doing there will trickle out, will have a ripple effect with other universities. Hopefully, other universities will see what you guys are doing and adopt something similar. And this is how we have to affect change, is that each program can start to change one after the next. So with all of that said, if there's one thing that you want the listeners to leave with today, one thing that they can take away with them, what would you want that to be? And I'll start with you, Jessica.
We need diversity. It shouldn't even be a question. It shouldn't even be a conversation. It's just, we need diversity and that is it. And we need to help our students. And like Rachel mentioned before, we only care about our students. That's our number one job. And that's why we went into higher education. So we want to help our students succeed in our field. And I feel like MSU Denver is the right school to do that.
Yes. You guys are doing some really fabulous things. I want to invite everyone who's listening to re-listen to this episode to really hear all of the things that MSU Denver is doing with their students. Just listen to it again. Listen to it again, how they are really working to affect change in all areas of the undergraduate experience and the graduate experience as well. So awesome. And Rachel, if there's one thing that you would like to leave the listeners with, what would that be?
So kind of leaving off with one of the last pieces of conversation, I would like to say that the diversity work is not just meant for the people of color to work on. The diversity work, especially in this profession, is meant for the white dietitians to take on.
Yes.
And I think, not just in the field of dietetics either, within our entire society.
Amen.
And what we see happening is that this work is being taken on by people of color, and where there are already workload disparities.
Yeah.
And so just because you are not a person of color does not mean that you cannot make some tremendous strides in the areas of diversity and inclusivity.
Yeah. And I personally want to leave you guys with this. I want to say that the most harmful person that's out there for people of color and marginalized communities are progressive white people. Progressive whites who believe that they are not the problem. When you have that mindset, you're a part of the problem. You are a big part of the problem. You are not only a problem if you're leaning on someone's neck, okay? You are part of the problem when you're born into the system that allows you to have privilege. So if you want to change this profession, which is highly privileged, okay, please open your eyes to the fact that it is your personal and professional responsibility to be a part of this change. Once again, I want to say it so you can hear it. The most harmful person to people of color are progressive whites. White people who believe that they are not the problem. So if you've ever said that or thought that you are not racist or you are not prejudiced, I want you to reevaluate that, my friend. I really do. It's a hard pill to swallow. It's not easy. This work is not easy. But if we want to progress as a profession, we all have to do the work. Every single one of us. And the fact that this profession is over 90% white, that means over 90% of the work is going to be done by the white dietitians. It's just the way it is, my friends. I love each and every one of you. And thank you for listening all the way to the end. And I look forward to seeing you, or hearing you rather, on the next episode. I won't even see or hear you, but you know what I mean. Come back, listen in on next week's episode. And in the meantime, have a great weekend and week ahead. Bye, my friends. Hey, if you want to learn more about how you can make more money as a dietitian, I want you to check out my newest signature program, Embody Academy. All you have to do is head on over to moneymindsetdietitian.com/embody-academy. Again, that's moneymindsetdietitian.com/embody-academy, and click on the Learn More button and get signed up to join us today. I can't wait to see your name on the roster so that I can help you learn how to make more money as a dietitian.